part you're gonna want to be able to see in the mirror mostly though, so you might want to like come around this way a bit more. Yeah, you can, I mean, as long as you can see, that's fine. Yeah. Right, okay. Hi everyone. I'm Colin. I'm a drag artist. I studied here, but a couple years ago, right before I got on Drag Race. And I'm going to paint my face, and you're gonna watch. It's gonna be like a I'd love it to be very interactive, so please ask questions. I'll just try and explain everything that I'm doing as we go along. I've decided to do it on me today just because we'll get a better result, because that's what I'm used to doing, but also because I didn't really have time to clean my brushes. But yeah, please just ask questions. I'm gonna just explain all my tips and tricks. I don't know if anyone's ever done drag makeup before, but you're gonna learn the way that I do it. And yeah, let's just crack on. Anyone got any like hopes, dreams, concerns, questions at the outset? Cool. Anyone ever done drag makeup before? A little bit.
I did.
Okay, nice. And how long into the term are we?
We're weeks away from finishing.
Okay, so you've done quite a bit. So you've blocked brows before. Cool. And you've done a lot of makeup. And you're doing hair right now?
Yeah.
Okay, this will be a real palette cleanser from hair. So I'm going to show you the way that I block brows. Have you been using soap? What have you been doing? Oh, you moved on to glue.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Times have changed. We weren't allowed to use glue when I was here. Cool. Well then, it'd be interesting to see if I do this the same as you. So I'm going to start by cleaning my brows just with a bit of alcohol, just to get any oil out of them, because it will make the glue last a lot longer. I also glue down my sideburns, so I'll alcohol those too. That'll dry really fast. But while that's happening, I'm going to stick some primer on my face. This is like a really kind of greasy silicone primer, which I'm nearly out of, but I like this because I've got quite dry skin, so it creates a really nice base, if I can get any out at all. There we go, that might be the last time. Obviously, clean shaven, if you're going for a drag queen look. I mean, don't have to, you can be beardy too, but it's the classic.
If you have like a day's worth of stubble, is it possible to like block it out similar to how you do brows?
Oh, it would be really messy. Did you ask that question? Yeah. Yeah, it would look really bad, and I think it's little hairs tend to show up under foundation really strongly, so it almost look worse trying to cover it. You'd be better off just being stubbly, I think. I don't know if anyone's ever successfully blocked an entire beard, but I don't really see how you would do that. Okay, so I'm gonna do my first coat of glue. It's the Elmer's purple glue stick, the classic, and I just take a spoolie, and I'm gonna rub really hard, back and forth, all over the brow, really like going circular, back and forth, just working glue kind of all the way down to the roots of the hairs. And then while it's still wet, take the spoolie and scrape the hairs upwards and away. And everybody's brows will sit differently, but you just need to find the angle that works. For me, it's like this kind of angle, not straight up, not out to the side, but a little bit angled. But just whatever way they want to lay flat. And then you can't do this on someone else, but if you're doing it on yourself, lick your finger and just smooth it out so that you get like a really smooth texture, and you get rid of all the furrows that you've made with this. If you're using it on someone else, you could just dip your finger in some water and just smooth out the brow. I guess I could have done that too. Old habits. So we're actually going to do 4 layers of glue, which is potentially overkill, but it's how much I've always done. And it lasts a long time doing it that way.
When you say a long time, how much?
I have slept in drag makeup before, so like 24 hours. I wouldn't recommend that. It's desperate times, but it can be done. The main thing that starts to happen is that the natural oils in your skin start to come through and start poking little holes, but you can kind of just powder back over a little bit if you have to. I wouldn't recommend this if the person's going to be getting wet or they're getting really sweaty. In which case, if that's the case, you'd want to use Prozaid, because that actually creates a really strong barrier. While I'm just letting that dry, I'm also going to prime my eyes and my nose. I've got this eyeshadow base. It's just like a neutral eye base. It's really great for greasy areas, like the nose or here, if you get a sweaty upper lip. It creates a really good barrier. It's obviously designed for eyelids to have like a grippy base for eyeshadow, but also because eyelids get pretty greasy as well typically. It's kind of creates a nice barrier. So I don't know if you've ever had it where your makeup is just sliding off your nose. This is a great hack for that.
Which brand is it?
This is just Kiko. Just neutral eye base. I've probably had this tube for 4 years or something. It's lasts forever. Okay. So just let those dry a little bit more. So you've done drag makeup once or twice?
Yeah, maybe 3 times.
Okay, nice. On someone else?
myself.
On yourself, great.
Is it for something or
For fun.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere.
that's what it is?
Well, I would highly recommend, after this, going and practicing on someone. It is fun, and there's probably some people in your life that are willing to have that experience as well. So it's the best way to cement this in. And maybe another time we'll be able to come and we'll actually be able to do it on each other. But it does take a lot of practice. Everybody looks very busted their first couple of times. Hello, people on the internet as well. Okay, so we'll do a second layer of glue. This time, you're not going back and forth or in circles, you're following the direction of the glue that you smoothed out. I forgot to do that before, doesn't matter so much. Doing sideburns, it really just kind of depends what the wig you're going to be wearing is, how it glues down. But this way you just end up with a little bit more real estate. So I typically just do it as a routine, and then sometimes you end up not needing to have done it, but you might as well while you're doing it. And then to set them, we're going to use just a neutral translucent powder. This is just Meron. It's very good, and we're going to pack it on, but we're going to do a third layer first.
Usually do the powder in between the layers of glue.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do 3 layers of glue, 1 layer of powder, another layer of glue, another layer of powder, and then that'll be it. What do you typically do?
1 layer of glue, 1 layer of powder. Just keeping that.
Right.
For like 3
I'm sure that would work as well. What I like about this is that you kind of build up everything being in place, and would you do more than 2 layers of powder?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the exact same amount of powder and glue.
Right. I think I would be worried it would start to get a bit too chunky, but it really, to each their own. So third layer. And then lots and lots of powder on the puff. And pressing firmly, never back and forth. Pressing, pressing. Maybe I just did that part, I can't remember. And then same for the sideburns. Stunning. Okay, so we can now dust off the excess gently. And we've got pretty good coverage. If I needed to right now, I could probably foundation over that and it would be all right. But it's always just good to do an extra layer just to be safe. A lot of times drag queens will just block out this section of the brow and leave this for natural, and you kind of get a natural looking start of the brow, but I prefer an unnatural look.
How do you avoid getting those hairs caught up in glue? Like little bits of glue being caught in them then?
What do you mean?
You said you leave the front bits out, you want the natural look. How do you
Yeah, you just be careful where you start it, and then it kind of all just works out. I think you'd manage it. It's because with these glue sticks, I don't know if you're using these small ones, but you can be pretty precise about where you place it. What happened here? Did I forget the powder? Should it all dust away? I can't remember. Okay, so brows are covered. Any questions there? Good.
Some people talk about using like things like Prosade
Mm-hmm.
and different materials. Like they're meant to be like really good at holding down brows. Like, have you tried them? Like, how do they compare to glue stick?
Yeah, Prosade definitely will give you like a much longer lasting and like heavier coverage, and you can get pretty sweaty with Prosade and it's not going to come off. I find it a lot harder to get a really smooth finish. It tends to look a little bit chunkier. Whereas because this is water-based and you can smooth it out, you get really flat finish. Prosade, it's like when it starts to get tacky, then you have to smooth it and it's tricky. I think there's probably lots of people who can do it, but to be honest, typically this is good enough. The only times I've really had issues with this are like really hot outdoor gigs on a summer day, like doing a Pride. Then you start to think, okay, maybe my brows aren't going to make it through the day, but for the most part, you're fine.
And how does it like start to show in those sort of conditions?
Basically, you'd get little holes in the powder. You'd see little dots of like, I guess where sweat is coming through.
Would it be your brow color or purple?
Be brow color.
That's at least.
Yeah. But if you've got like, typically this is where everything's really white, so it kind of starts to show pretty immediately. But it happens. Okay, so we're gonna do base now. I've got 3 paint sticks here. They're just Krylon TV paint sticks. I love these. They're very, very full coverage. And I'm gonna start with the base color. I'm gonna stick loads of product in the kind of beard area. And a little bit up here. I might lose this necklace. I washed these earlier and they're a little wet, but I think that's actually going to be a good thing. I just blend it in.
Do you prefer to use a Tri Beauty blender then when doing drag?
I just use whatever is laying around, typically. It doesn't matter too much, but I think you can get actually quite a nice finish from a slightly damp beauty blender. Obviously it depends on the foundation you're using. And I'll put this neutral right over here as well. And on the nose. The nice thing about drag makeup is that it kind of helps you understand principles about making anyone else look nice as well, because it's the same concepts and principles, it's just everything's 10 times bigger. So it's like looking at, sometimes it's kind of like looking at regular makeup through a magnifying glass. And it kind of helps you understand things like eye shapes or like, you know, contouring, highlighting, all of that stuff. It's also exaggerated, that it's kind of like a nice teaching process that way. Okay, so I'm going to take a contour shade now. You kind of need 3 colors to do someone's highlight and contour and drag, and it's just their natural one or something that's going to match their neck pretty well, and then a lighter shade and a darker shade. How heavy, how dark, how light, that's kind of all personal preference. This is just going to go in the hollow of my cheek. And you kind of think about sort of making a triangle that heads towards the corner of your mouth. So if that triangle continued, it would end here.
When it comes to contour, when doing drag makeup, do you usually go for a grayish or more of a bronzy?
Yeah, definitely you don't want it to have really any warmth in it, I would say, because you're kind of trying to create shadow, and if it's warm, it doesn't really work. But there's no real hard and fast rules about that, but typically I think if you're trying to create the illusion of a shadow where there isn't one, you want to stay away from the warmer tones and focus more on cool tones. Because you can see this brown is a little bit, it's kind of in the cool, it's a cool brown.
Do you think, like, simply having like a lot of very eccentric makeup makes, and obviously a lot of female feminine dressing outfits and hair, do you think that alone makes it look more feminine? Sorry, I didn't say. Is there any specific ways you contour your face to make it look more feminine, or is it just like the fact that you have a lot of feminine aligned items on?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like right now I'm putting my cheekbones basically in a different place. Like my cheekbones are here, and then if you were going to accentuate male makeup, you would bring the lines down here, because that's kind of typically where a male jawline is. But we're focusing here, which is totally changing the shape of my face. And similarly, I'm going to change the shape of my nose. I'm going to overdraw my lips. I'm going to put my eyebrows in a different place. And these are all things that are typically associated with, you know, feminine features. I think it's kind of a little bit gone past that. It's kind of now it's makeup that's associated with drag queens. It's because it is so far removed from, you know, what any actual person looks like. It's not really about female impersonation. It's just a heightened, exaggerated look.
Yeah.
So I blended this. I'm trying to keep the sharp line here, which is kind of that cut jawline contour, but I've blended it up from the line that I drew. And just it doesn't matter too much what you do up in the top. And then we'll take the highlight shade. I'm going to start going over these eyebrows. And I'm just using the stick itself to kind of cut in that cheek crease. So I like it really sharp and angular. But again, this line could go all the way to the corner of the mouth if you wanted. There's lots of different ways. And I bring that highlight up onto my nose, which is gonna help make my nose look a little bit thinner. And I'm just gonna be careful here about maintaining that sharp line, but blending it away at the edges. This is what we call the brown rainbow in the biz. Okay, that's starting to happen. It's all gonna get softened so much when we powder it, so it all looks super crazy now, but and then I'm gonna take a white paint stick and I'm gonna draw the underside of my eyebrows. It's kind of a backwards way of doing it to some people, but I like it because I can just kind of fuss with the position and placement rather than drawing in an eyebrow and then having to fill in around it. You can actually just play with the shapes back and forth with creams and decide where you're going to put them. So you're kind of drawing in the outline of the eyebrow first, and then later we're going to put the eyebrow on. And you can see even now, like I don't have any eyebrows drawn on, but it kind of looks like I do just because of the inverse color being there.
Is there anything that beginners do that you definitely say it's like a no-no?
Yeah, I'd say one of the key things you see people do the first time they put on drag makeup is they start their eyebrow up here. And you can overdraw, I mean, it's all depends on what kind of look you're going for, but if you want it to look in any way kind of natural, you'll always start the eyebrow where your natural eyebrow actually starts, which is here. So and then once you've started it there, it can go anywhere, and it'll look kind of, not natural, but it'll look correct. Whereas if you start drawing it up here, you look surprised, or it just starts to look much more artificial. And I see lots of established drag queens who do that too. I won't say any names, but it's fine. Everyone can do what they like. I'm also gonna pop a bit of white right here to kind of pop that highlight even more.
If someone was to like come along and give you like an entirely new kit, what are like some of your products, like brands that you use that you would say are like essential for your look? Like,
I think I would struggle with like I would struggle doing this with liquid foundations. You kind of need heavy cream foundation for this, for the way I do it.
makes sense for what performing and lighting and everything.
Yeah, but also it's just the way I've learned to do it. I'm sure there's lots of people who do it without paint sticks, but I would struggle. Beyond that, like lipstick, lip liners, eyeshadow, everything's kind of the same. Like, you find products and brands that you like, but I don't think there's a lot in it. Like, you're never gonna really convince me that one mascara is superior to another. I think it's just down to branding. I'm just gonna use this for a minute. The mirror is just a little bit far away from me. So they look pretty even, which means I can now start drawing in my eyebrows. So I'm going to take that same contour color and just a kind of narrow angle brush. And again, I'm going to start the eyebrow at my natural eyebrow. And I'm basically just tracing the line I just made with the cream, with the white. Make it a bit wider at the front. Decide where you want to put the arch. Realize you've done one wrong. It's always the way that you like one more than the other, but you have to ruin the good one to make it match. But then the beauty of doing all of this with the creams is that if you do really make a mistake, you can just take another angle brush. Something like that. And you can correct it. I'll do the same with some white. If you're ever tasked with like just giving someone a drag makeover, you can pretty much have free reign. You can just be as creative as you want. But obviously there's different kind of styles. Like there's, you know, old school drag, which has its own kind of eyebrow shape and contouring, and there's, you know, modern beauty drag and all of that stuff. So it really kind of depends what kind of character you're going for, but there's no hard rules. So I've left, the eyebrows look quite weird there, but that's because I'm actually going to blend that area a bit, and then we can do kind of an ombre eyebrow. So I'm going to use the light foundation, just really gentle here. Just kind of softens the start of the eyebrow. And then, you know, just any other areas that you kind of missed, I might Do a bit of contour here. The temple. And then just need to do the nose as well. So I typically will mix my contour shade with a bit of my base shade so it's a little bit less harsh, but I'm just using the same brush I used for my eyebrows. I'm gonna do another triangle. Wide at the top of the nose and narrowing down to nothing. Nose contour is tricky because if you do it too wide, it actually makes the nose look wider. But again, there's lots of different kinds of shapes you could do. You can have like an exclamation point, or some people do a little heart, or you can not have anything at the end at all. You can do straight lines. It kind of depends what you like and what works on the nose that you're working on. Just gonna pop a bit of highlight down the middle.
Can you do a similar nose contour? Someone has a really wide but flat nose?
I don't know. I think like the principles are kind of the same. But again, the nice thing about working with creams is that, you know, nothing we're doing right now is set in stone. Until we powder it, it's still very much changeable, so you can always just try something, see what you think. And I'm about to powder, so I'll just take a last look and see what I may have missed. And I am sweating a bit. You can actually see here. That's kind of what I mean about eyebrows coming through sometimes. I'm just gonna try and see if I can get those down before I powder them.
Does that kind of show more or less on the stage light?
I think it depends on the stage. How big, like, I mean, if you're performing in a basement in Dalston, people are probably pretty close. If you're on a big stage in the West End, you're probably fine. Typically, if you're doing drag, you're not in a place with phenomenal lighting. Unless you're lucky. And I'm just going to sharpen up here as well, this eyebrow. Okay, any questions on any of that?
Is there any areas that, like, you don't really need to powder or anything?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, the part where you've covered your eyebrows and everything and you put the white on, do you really need to powder it? Or like...
Yeah, you need to powder. You need to powder everything because right now it's all very smudgy. If you don't powder it, you touch it, it's gonna move around. So yeah, I would definitely say you need to powder.
Even on the parts where you're gonna do eyeshadow?
Mm-hmm. Because even then, I mean, you probably could manage to do the eyeshadow, but I've gotten so used to working eyeshadow onto a powdered base that It's just what I'm comfortable with now. So I'm gonna put the most setting powder in the highlight areas. Just opened this powder. It's got kind of like a pinky hue. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but we'll see. And actually on my eyebrow, I'm going to use the kind of white translucent. So I get that it keeps the white. We don't start coloring. Contact lens. And then just powder everywhere.
How long would you typically be given on set to do a full piece of drag?
You mean like me on myself, or if you were working?
If you were working on someone else.
I think it's rare enough that you could probably say to someone, this is what I need. But I don't think there's any particular standard for this. So, you know, that said, there's never enough time. And, you know, if you're doing one person, maybe you're doing a bunch of people. I don't know. Yeah, I can't really answer that. I wouldn't say there's any hard and fast. But I have heard horror stories about people being given, very little time. I think people have a pretty good understanding now that it's not a super fast process. Okay. Eyebrows are a little oatmeal-y today, but hopefully we're going to cover that all up with some eyeshadow. So that's what's going to be next. Going to do eyeshadow. I'm going to do like a pink cut crease eye. And there's lots of different ways to do a cut crease, but I'm going to start with the lightest shades and work my way downwards towards the crease, darker and darker shades, and then I'm going to cut it. So starting with like just a light pink, I'm just going to start kind of mapping out the shape. And you can see I've kind of already started doing that with the white as well. Like that's the direction the eyeshadow is going to go. I think someone could open a window maybe? Is that possible?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just for a little bit. So I'm following the shape of my actual crease, just above. Oh, that breeze is so nice, thank you. And I'm being really gentle with the brush, even though I'm going back and forth. I'm trying really hard not to disturb the glue, the hairs underneath. so that we don't mess up the covered brows. So with this light shade, I've started to get a sense of where, you know, where the shape of the eye is going to be, and then I'm going to take a slightly denser brush and a darker shade of pink. And I'm going to bring that a little bit lower towards the crease. Blending it into the light pink, starting to define the shape that I'm making. These pinks definitely stain, so I'll be going home with pink eyes.
Is there any way to try and avoid staining?
Well, putting the primer down does help. Typically, just though, if you want a good pigment, it's kind of the payoff. I think technically these eyeshadows say they're not supposed to be used on your eyes. I think they call them face powders. Yeah, some of these shades are not intended for use around the immediate eye area in the United States. So, yeah, don't use this pink in the United States around the eye area. You can see I've left this bit pretty untouched and white. Okay, and then an even denser brush and a darker pink. And I'm going to split the difference again. And 3 colors is really all you need to do this. Your foolproof is to use three shades that are kind of just lighter, darker, and darkest versions of themselves. And that's always gonna be pretty effective, but you can also use kind of contrasting shades like, you know, pinks with oranges or blues into greens into yellows. There's lots of different ways to do it, but this is kind of bog standard. And if you use neutral colors, obviously you won't get that like big, bright, bold kind of draggy look, but it can be even easier to make it look natural if you just use browns and dark browns. You can see the shape starting to take place, but where I've left it white, you know, my natural crease is here, and I'm drawing a new one. I'm starting to create a new one a couple millimeters above that. And just patience, back and forth, going between the 3 colors, blending between them. Cool. And now I'm actually gonna go with black. It's kind of gonna give it a sort of meaner look and more graphic. But again, it's going in the same concept, but I'm once again just in the smallest amount of space possible. And then blending that into your darkest pink. And just like everything else, there's so many different kinds of shapes of cut creases you can do. You can do like half moons, you could do a full circle, you could do the like, I don't know what it's called, the floating cut crease I think, where it kind of transitions up and away. And you could choose that based on the shape of the person's eye or just based on what you like. The kind of fun thing is that you can just draw on, you're drawing on new features on someone, so there aren't really any rules. One of the reasons I put so much powder under my eyes is for fallout. Especially with these eyeshadows, which are really pigmented, they do have lots of drop off, so it means that you're not kind of ruining your base. Okay. So I'm still gonna go in and sharpen all of that up, but we've kind of got the base that we're working with, and now I'm gonna take my white paint stick and flat, kind of curved brush, and I'm going to cut the crease. Similar to what I did here, where we want the dark and the light to meet in a really sharp line. And we've already given ourselves like a map to kind of follow. This is me probably violating one of those rules where you're not supposed to put creams on top of powders, but it works. Yeah. Stunning. This can be a really hard step to get them even. It's the other nice thing about using cream is that you've still got now a chance to get your eyes the same size. It doesn't matter that much. I would say one of the main things that makes your eyes look weird is lash application. If you have one lash that's on a little bit crooked or in a slightly different place, that's one of the things that can make someone look really droopy-eyed really fast. People don't tend to notice, or at least I don't tend to notice, kind of subtle differences in the shape of the crease on each eye. Cool, so can you see, you know, where my actual crease is? It's like here, and now we've gone higher. And like, when you're like this, you can't really tell where the crease is or isn't. We've got that nice, crisp, sharp line, and now we can fill in the lid with shadow. So I'm gonna use the same 3 colors that I used. Just to marry the colors on the lid. Into the colors above. If you've got old droopy eyelids, you might need to stretch them out. And you could use this color the whole way in, or you can leave it, it's part of it white. Yeah, just bringing that blend into the outer corner. Not really that dissimilar in principle to like a smoky eye. It's just obviously on a much bigger scale with insane colors. And I'll do the actual inner corner with white. Just set that. You might decide you want to smoke it out a bit more. We do here. I kind of like to think about the eyeshadow heading towards the corner of the eyebrow, so you're kind of taking it and lifting the eye towards that new eyebrow. Okay. Now I want it all to be a little bit more graphic, so we're going to do eyeliner, but I'm also going to use a bit of black, and you could use a black gel liner or you can use a black pen liner. And I'm going to go over that crease one more time, so I've got a really sharp black line. That kind of takes it to that cartoony point. Yeah. Oop. Okay, and then eyeliner. This is just Kryolan black gel liner, which I really like. It's good if you're using a lot, because it does have a tendency to dry out pretty fast, so you have to be going through it pretty fast, but it's good. I'm gonna do this right on the waterline. And then like a pretty big shape. It's always so transformative to eyeliner. And that's just going to marry into the black that I've put here. You've got to get it also like right into the waterline. If you can see like a little bit of skin, it totally kills it. And like right down into the lash line. Like sometimes I even do under the lashes. But you need someone pretty willing to let you poke their eye to do that. I'm just gonna kind of blend the black shadow in now. And then this inner corner, just like a classic sort of drag technique, just extending the eye. I like it to be quite thin, but you can think about it as kind of following the shapes that you've been putting in, so it's not a line that's going straight inwards, it's also kind of following that angled curve. This is one of those things that people, when they're first starting out, really tend to overdraw. And then I'm going to do the lower liner. I like to fill in the lash line on the outer corner and then move it towards an open open line. It's just really gonna open up the eye and make it look a lot bigger. Yeah, eyeliner just makes such a huge difference. Suddenly it's like everything starts to make sense. Again, you can see how this liner is also sort of following that curve up. And then the same pinks again, we'll just kind of copy the shadows that we did on the top in a really tiny version on the bottom. Yeah, it's pretty good. Any questions there?
Would you do your makeup in any different way if you're doing it for like a photo shoot rather than for performing on stage?
Yeah.
Would you change any products?
Probably not change any products, but maybe like, yeah, maybe a stage makeup is something like this, and maybe I would tend to be a bit more creative or experimental with like a photo shoot makeup, because you can actually see the details, whereas on stage it's just about getting people to see the big impact. But I like to do kind of different things every time, basically. This is the kind of thing I would do if I was in a rush, but otherwise I do like to play around with, at least with colors every time. I mean, a lot of drag artists, they've got the same makeup they do every single time, and I can't think of anything more boring than doing that every time. Like, I need to do something different just for my own amusement.
Is there something like that's your style? Like something that's it's always part of the makeup you do on yourself?
I think my eyebrows are kind of always the same shape, and you know, maybe the shape that I'll draw with my eye is typically the same, but in terms of colors, no. I don't know. Like, my face is still under there, so you can always tell it's me. I'm gonna put a bit of glitter on here. This is just like a lip gel glitter from Be Perfect, which I really like. And it's like a super quick way of getting kind of like a glitter payoff. If I don't use one of these, I love using this Kryolan multi-gel, and then I mix a few different sizes of glitter from Kryolan. You can just see in this yellow. So that's actually 3 different glitters mixed together. I don't know if you want to pass it around and see, but it gives it like a really intense and impactful What am I gonna do? I'm gonna do a bit of white in my underwater line.
If you were gonna do like a darker, like smoky eye kind of look, would you still need the white in the front, or would you just use like a lighter shade of black, like a gray or something?
If you were gonna do, you could do a smoky eye. No, do you mean here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a kind of classic cut crease. If you want to do like a smoky eye, I've done it before where you just do black, you know, over the entire lid and then just smoke out the edges. And that's like a really quick, fast way of doing a high impact eye. But even then, I would probably put a little bit of shimmer in here just to like catch the light and draw the eye in. But it's, you know, like if you're trying to do a really mean looking look, then you probably don't want any like eye-catching shimmer glitter moments, any of that. This is much more like a kind of pretty sort of makeup.
But do you always have white for like the cut crease, or can you use different colors?
Oh yeah, you could cut it with a different color for sure. You would want, if you wanted like it to have the illusion of it being your lid, then use a lighter color than the one you're cutting. But there's no reason why you couldn't, you know, I could have cut that with a light pink or a yellow, or yeah, lots of different colors.
Do you see all black drag queens using white to cut there?
Yeah, but also like a lot of gold. But yeah, white, I mean, white is great for stage. It's, you know, it's really visible. I am putting this white gel liner again along the inside of the crease. Just some extra pow. That looks pretty good. Okay, brows. I'm gonna do this quick with an eyeliner pen, but you can also use a gel liner for this. I'm gonna draw in a few individual hairs. And then I'm just gonna kind of fill in the rest of the eyebrow. And I've kind of got a stencil to follow from doing it in the cream. So it's just really filling it in. You might want to use a dark brown eyeshadow for this. You don't need to use a wet product for this. It can be dry as well. I just like big black mean eyebrows.
Can you use something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably similar to a gel liner, to be honest. The nice thing about liners is that once they dry, they're pretty set. Don't know how a pomade really sets, but you could test it out. Okay. I think my eyes are just about done, so I'm gonna do mascara. They don't need to look particularly nice, they just need to be black. Because the false lashes that we put on are going to be so big and heavy that no one's going to see these unless they aren't black, and in which case they will show up. Which is why it's important to get the liner right down to the lash line. And then same with the bottom, but just the outer corner, because we're kind of pretending that our lash line goes this way now. So if you paint these ones that are in the white section black, it ruins the illusion. But you can, I'm just going to try and get these ones, just the tip of them, black. So they follow the shape. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to my face. And I'm just going to kind of reset some of the contour and do blush and highlight, just because you lose some of the definition when you powder on top of your cream. So just put a bit more warmth in. Now this is quite a warm kind of bronzer color, but I like it for now because it puts a bit of warmth in the face, but I've still got the coolness of the contour where the line is.
Do you do it like directly on top, or do you leave a bit of like where it's just contour?
Yeah, there's like, I'm kind of using it as a sort of blender between the contour and the highlight. Does that make sense? And I'm gonna blend again on top of that with the blush.
So it wasn't too.
Not at all, it's great. I'm gonna do the same with the nose contour, just with a smaller fluffy brush. I'm going to take my trusty CBMA blush palette, which I've had for 4 years. Do you still get these?
Yeah.
Love this blush palette. Sadly, 2 of my blushes are no longer with us. They were so well loved.
We can gift another one to
Oh my god, I would die. It's honestly, these are so much for like anyone's normal makeup. I assume you've experienced how insane these blushes are on a normal person, but when you're doing drag makeup, they're great.
Do you have some blushes you can get? They have like some like a shimmery sort of particle, like highlighted sort of quality to them.
Yeah.
Do you ever use those, or do they not really work under the stage lights?
I'm gonna use a highlighter in a second, but I typically prefer to just know what my product's trying to do, and like if it's a blush, I want it to be a matte, and then I can always put a shimmer on top of that. It's the same with eyeshadows. Like you'll never really use a shimmery eyeshadow for drag because you're trying to create like a matte illusion effect the same way we are here. If there was a shimmer here, it would reflect the light, and suddenly that shadow that we're trying to make is gone, and that would happen here in the crease as well. So you might use a shimmer here just on the parts that you're trying to make look really bright or white, but other than that, I would be careful with shimmers. And typically like a shimmery eyeshadow doesn't really have enough payoff anyway to like do the kind of effect that we want. It can be nice for photos, but for stage, yeah, you kind of need a glitter, so don't really bother with shimmers. That's why like a palette like this is so good, because it's just a lot of really bright mattes. Right, and yeah, some highlight. Just on the very high points of the cheekbone. Maybe a tiny bit on the nose. And I'm actually going to use this glitter instead of, sometimes I would just use like a powder highlight here, but I'm going to use this. So it's also going to cover up some sins of where we're seeing a tiny bit of brow hair. That's another like good lesson if you're doing drag makeup on someone. If you mess something up, just put some glitter on it. Probably get away with it.
Do you have any tips like applying highlighter and glitter? Because I feel like there's a fine line between a bit of shimmer and like 2016 highlighter. Thick line.
Yeah. I mean, nothing I do is particularly subtle, so I guess I'm never really that bothered about it. But one thing I do like to do is mix a couple highlighters. So you could, I've used that kind of gold one here, and you could take a white highlighter and put it in the middle, and it almost creates like an ombre highlight effect, and it almost increases the 3D effect a bit more. What haven't I done? I was a bit sweaty there, so fix it. I'm gonna do a bit of glitter on the under eye too. Actually, why don't I show you how I use this glitter gel. This is just a multi-gel from Kryolan, and then I'll take some of these white glitters that I've pre-mixed, which is just 3 different sizes of white glitter from Kryolan. Just apply this in the lash line where I've put the white. There was some pigment on that brush, so it's not white anymore. That's okay. And then just while it's still wet, pop a bit of glitter on top. And just really brings a lot of life to the eye. I don't know what's in this stuff, but it lasts really well. It holds really well, so highly recommend. Most of my products, to be honest, are from Kryolan. The only thing I don't really like from them are their eyeshadows. So I don't think they've got enough pigment, kind of too densely packed. So something like this, which is like a pretty cheap palette, I think it's probably £25. The colors are so bright, and they're also really loose, so you have to be careful, because otherwise you'll make a real mess on your face. But you get a lot of color payoff. Lips. So I'm just going to clean off the foundation from my lip. And then we're going to overdraw them with a pencil. I typically choose a pencil that's a shade or so darker than the lipstick I'm gonna end up using for that kind of ombre lip effect. Especially when you're overdrawing, you kind of want to have multiple shades because it helps to hide the overdrawingness. Otherwise you end up with a kind of just that big clown red lip. Where's my sharpener? I saw on TikTok that someone puts their lip liners in the freezer before they sharpen them, which I haven't tried, but I like it as an idea. So with overdrawing lips, the key is to kind of keep them similar width to your natural lips, and then you can go above and below almost as much as you want. But if you start going really high above and really wide, it looks incredibly unnatural.
What if you already have like a very defined Cupid's bow? Is that like still possible?
Yeah, I mean, you can draw in a new Cupid's bow. I've got a pretty strong bow, but I just draw a semicircle and it hides. You can... This is a chance to do whatever you want to your face, you know? So I've really gone pretty crazy. It's huge. But it's all gonna come together. And despite how high I've gone, I've barely extended it outwise. See that? And I'm gonna fill in the middle with a bit of lipstick. And then to help sell it, take our highlight shade or white. And a sharp little brush. And we're going to use those same contouring and cut crease techniques to help trick the eye that that's actually where the lip is starting. And if you did that everywhere, it'd be like, why did you outline your lips? But if you do it sparingly in these places, kind of helps to create a 3D effect. Now you don't really see my Cupid's bow so much anymore. It's gone. And then you can continue that 3D ombre as well with a bit of foundation. You kind of, I don't know, even though it was so high a second ago, it kind of don't really see it anymore. Then you could pop a lip gloss on, or you could put some glitter on. Kind of nice to use the same products in different places in your face. It kind of keeps things married together. So the fact that I've got this on my eye and here, it's kind of like a symmetry to it all. Where's that? Where it gone? Okay, so I'm basically done my face, but I'm just wondering what is kind of lacking. And I think the way I've smoked out this is a little bit ugly. So I'm gonna fix it. That's the wrong palette. Just want it to have a bit of a nicer, smokier blend. Always put the lid back on your glitter. It's a miracle I didn't drop that. That's nicer already. Cool. And I think I need a bit more blush in the cheeks. And then I think it's basically done. I'm gonna do the lashes. I'm gonna use a deeper shade of blush. I'm kind of just gonna use those contouring techniques again. Just squeezing the blush brush. Just add a bit more depth. Who's calling me? And I actually think this face could use a bit more interest, so this is just another kind of style of blush that I like sometimes, but I'm gonna actually connect it into my eyeshadow. That's nice. That works really well when you're doing like a pink eye. You can just kind of connect them in. It's a very 80s look, but we like that. Nice. And then maybe you can, you know, keep this really smoky, or you could clean it up and you could take some of your highlight foundation and sharpen this line. Just get that kind of really crisp. It's just so many different ways of doing things. It really comes down to personal preference. That's nice and crisp now, if that's a thing that you like. Okay, let's put on some lashes. These are from Eldora. They're the biggest ones they make, and there's 2 of them glued together. They're great. Depending on the person's eye, they might be too big. And like if an eyelash is too big for the eye, it can kind of create a lot of drooping. So you just have to play around and find an eyelash that works. You can even get pretty good eyelashes now just at like PAX or any beauty supply store. This you shouldn't use on someone else. This is Copydex. It's like a craft adhesive. It says it's for carpets. The reason I like using it is because it's rubber. It's basically like a rubber-based glue. So you can, I've got it all over the front of the lash. You can peel it off when you're done. So you get a lot more wear out of the lash. It's great. Oh God, unless you cover the actual hairs with glue. How'd I do that? So that the next time I come to these, I can just peel off the glue that I put on. Whereas in, you know, most lash glue, it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and then it's just so thick that you can't wear the lashes anymore. I've probably worn these lashes like 20 or 30 times. Which is good because they're really expensive. They're like 15 pounds a pair, so it's like 30 pounds of lashes. So you want to get a lot of wear out of them.
Is that smooth safe around your eyes?
I haven't had any problems. And it is like a drag queen classic glue.
I want to meet the person who found this out.
Yeah, I know. May cause an allergic skin reaction. It doesn't to me.
Take the chance of the baby.
Yeah. Basically, it's one of those things that like you would do for yourself, but you probably wouldn't use on someone else. Just use regular lash glue if you're doing this on someone else. I do like to use tweezers. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more. We'll do some bottom lashes. This is just like a set, like I think this was meant to be a natural set of lashes for a normal person, which I'll just cut into pieces to use as kind of individual lower lash. You don't need to let the glue dry on these because they're so light that they kind of just stay in place. Okay. So I try and usually put the beginning of the lash where my lashes actually start at the inner corner, and then I go a little bit above and higher on the outer corner. And that gives you a bit of a lift.
Do you get the lower lashes from the same company as well?
I think these were just from PAX, you know, and I think it was just like a normal set of lashes that was like quite chunky and piecey that I just cut into small pieces. Lashes change the whole game. It's like suddenly, again, it all kind of makes sense. It's like suddenly your lashes are big enough to make sense of the eye shape that you've drawn and the eyebrows that are in the wrong place, and everything just kind of starts to make more sense.
They feel heavy.
Yeah, they get pretty uncomfortable after, like, it's one of those things at the end of the night, you're like, oh.
Right.
Like, I imagine it feels like taking off a bra or something. It's like,
It
or
is.
yeah, or like but it's the same. Like a wig, basically everything in drag starts to hurt. Like you'll be wearing contact lenses. It's always really nice to take those out. Wig cap, like your hair's been smushed down, and that's really uncomfortable. I will just pop a wig on for you though, so you can see it all.
In your vision.
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah. Yeah, and especially when you add, if you do add a colored lens, which like make everything darker, between that and the lashes, like, yeah, you're kind of blind. You're kind of blind. Then you're in a dark dressing room trying to find something in a suitcase and wondering why you chose this profession. Any questions about the face?
No.
I'm not going to bother gluing this down because I'm just going to take it right off again, but it's just to give you the final effect. Hello, 6 of you watching live. How do I look? Right? And there's also just so much going on that if something's a little bit not quite right, like I'm still kind of not happy about this bit of brow cover right here, but there's just so much else to look at that no one's going to focus on those little individual things. Yeah, there we go. That's drag. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I would normally do a
Brilliant.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys enjoyed it. Good. Amazing.
General makeup. There's understatement into this whole big debate on red lipstick because it can tend to look either like really blue or really orangey. Like, is there like a good red lipstick you recommend?
I don't really wear a red lip very often, so no, I don't have one I would recommend. I tend to do like quite a neutral lip usually, especially I think when there's so much in the eye. It's like that's the general rule, isn't it? It's either eyes or lips. So I usually go for eyes. What's that?
It look like this one.
Yeah.
Would you do a glossy lip?
Yeah. I mean, the glitter on it kind of
Yeah.
gives the idea of gloss. What's nice about this is that it's just gonna dry now, and it's not gonna, like, my hair is not gonna stick to it. That's the problem with gloss. Like, it looks nice, but it's like immediately off on your drink, or yeah, exactly. So.
Do you ever use lip gloss in your drag?
Yeah, I do like using it. It's just this is a nice way to do it without doing it. Or sometimes you can even like paint on. Like paint on gloss. Yeah. And you could use a glitter to like figure out where you'd need to put it, where the light's gonna hit the lip the most. I mean, you're not gonna be able to see this on top of the glitter, but.
Were there any questions online? Sorry, I wasn't actually.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see any. If there were, sorry, I ignored you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who joined as well.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And
Appreciate your attention.
to you as well, Colin. So, bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I would also just always finish with the setting spray. Again, I love the Krylon HD setting spray is amazing. Like if you give yourself 2 coats of that, I've jumped in a pool with my face on and it's basically like I lost my lashes, but everything.
Should we go maybe a close up
Yeah.
for the goodbye? That's beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much. And we can stop. Cool.
But if you're in a pinch, you can